Hi, and welcome along to Transfer Daily. And first of all, got to say, what a great victory by Arsenal yesterday in the Community Shield, lifting their first bit of minor silverware, but it's silverware all the same for the season. And a very, very encouraging performance. I know it's one of these games where the losers always turn around and say, well, you know, it didn't mean much anyway. It was just a warm-up, blah, blah, blah. But listen, the game's at Wembley. It's been shown live. It's a very competitive game. It's not like an ordinary friendly. And I thought that Arsenal turned in a magnificent performance yesterday, totally dominating Manchester City and beating them 3-0. And it's very, very encouraging. Very, very encouraging indeed. Lots of the new boys out there playing very well. Alexis Sanchez looked good. Callum Chambers, I thought, was brilliant yesterday. And Debuchy as well, having a very, very good performance in the team. And it looked like a team. It all gelled together well. They played like a team. They moved the ball very quickly and dynamically. And it was a very, very good performance by Arsenal. And very interestingly, after the game, Arsene Wenger hinting that there's still more signings to be made. He said he's still going to be busy between now and the end of the transfer window, and that he's definitely looking to bring in a centre-back. And a lot of people seem to be thinking that the person that he's looking at hard at the moment in bringing in is Daniel Agger from Liverpool. We spoke about it a couple of days ago. Well, that's been mentioned all over the media again today, that Agger seems to be the #1 target for Arsene Wenger. Of course, Agger wants to leave Liverpool. He wants to get first-team football. Now, again, he's not really going to get first-team football if he comes to Arsenal, is he? He's going to be a backup centre-back. But he would get games. He would get game time. He would be playing in the Champions League, which he would have been doing if he was at Liverpool. And I'm sure that he would look at that and think that that is a more attractive proposition than, say, going back over to play for Bromby, which was sort of the considered target for him. So Daniel Agger seems to be that centre-back that's really in the frame for Arsene Wenger at the moment. There doesn't seem to be many other obvious targets. Nastasic has been mentioned. You saw him playing for Manchester City yesterday. Didn't look fantastic yesterday, but, you know, he could be a little bit rusty. But he's been another player that's been mentioned, but he'd be a lot more expensive. Younger, of course. And then not a lot of other centre-backs being mentioned at the moment. So it'd be really interesting to see who Arsenal end up signing. Are they going to go for a younger option, or are they going to go for an experienced player? Now, Callum Chambers played there yesterday, did very well, but, you know, I still think that you need an experienced player because, listen, playing in that position, you may get a lot of game time. If a centre-back becomes injured, you're thrown straight in. And whilst Callum Chambers done brilliantly and has done brilliantly since he's come in at Arsenal, remember, he's only a young player, and we're not going to really want him playing week in, week out. So it's really interesting who Arsenal are going to buy in that centre-back position. But the most obvious person sticking out at the moment is Daniel Agger. That is where a lot of people are saying that Arsenal are going to try and move. Again, the other thing wrong with Agger is that he picks up a lot of injuries. Do we want another injury-prone player? He's knocking on a bit. There's so many things to be considered in who we're going to bring in that position. The other interesting thing was that Arsene Wenger moved pretty quickly after that game to say that his captain for the season is going to be Mikel Arteta. So Arteta's going to be captain. Listen, no problem with that. Good leader. The only thing that then I start to think to myself is Arsene Wenger thinking to himself he's not going to bring in a defensive midfielder? He seems pretty happy with Flamini. He likes Flamini a lot, obviously. Arteta's going to be the captain, so I presume, you know, if you make Arteta the captain, you're saying to yourself he's going to be starting week in, week out. So then what does that mean? Then he's not going to bring in a defensive midfielder, which I think would be a major, major mistake if that was to happen. But it just, you know, it got me, because I was thinking to myself, if you want to make somebody a captain that's going to probably play week in, week out, there were two options there, probably Mertesacker or Aaron Ramsey, because you know that those two are more or less going to be every week they're going to play. But if you're making Mikel Arteta the captain, number one, that means that you're definitely not thinking of him leaving, and I didn't think he was going to make Arteta leave. But you're also saying to yourself that this guy, for me, is going to be week in, week out. Although, as we know, Vermaelen didn't feature week in, week out as captain and ended up leaving. So, again, making me wonder, with Arsene Wenger what he's like already. He could turn around at the end of the window and say, you know what, we didn't need a defensive midfielder, and I think that would be a major, major mistake. And I'm just hoping and praying that he's not settling on what we've got, because that would be a big mistake, considering that is where we lost a lot of games last season. So it is such a vital position. So going to have to wait and see what happens there. Couple of players been linked with a move away. Lucas Podolski and Joel Campbell both being linked today with a move to a loan move to Galatasaray. Again, listen, if we're not going to be bringing in somebody on that left-hand side, I keep Podolski. I think Podolski's a great team player as well, and he's a player who can come on and score goals, and also a player who gives us another striking option. So I wouldn't be selling Podolski unless we're thinking of bringing in a major striker. And also Joel Campbell, as I keep saying, I just hope this kid gets given a chance at us. I think, how many more loan moves is he going to go out on? If you send him out on another loan move, or, it's just going to dishearten him. You'd probably be better off selling him if you were going to do that. So I just hope that these rumours are not true and that we are going to hold on to Joel Campbell. And the player that has been linked with a loan move away, which in this case, I think maybe it may serve the player well, and that's Serge Gnabry. Serge Gnabry, of course, had a lot of injuries recently, but he's wanted by Crystal Palace on loan. I don't think that would do any harm at all. He's a very, very talented player. I'd put him out, if I was going to send him on loan, I'd do it as an initial 6 months, so that if he was performing, we could bring him back after Christmas if we needed because of any injuries. But he's wanted out on loan, and I don't think that's a bad idea, because he's going to have Alexis Sanchez in front of him. He's going to have Theo Walcott in front of him, Rosicky. So it might not be a bad idea to send him out on loan to make him get some Premier League experience, because he definitely has a massive future at Arsenal. Let's just get into a few of your comments from yesterday. CMHONSU33 says, We've got to get Javi Martinez. I would have loved him. I would have loved Javi Martinez. He'd be perfect. And this guy explains why. He says he can play as a centre-back or a defensive midfielder. He does it for Bayern Munich. He's experienced at defending at the highest level. He's Spanish, so he'll be able to gel into the team straight away. He would give us a morale boost and solve the problem of defensive midfielder or centre-back. Why not just bring him in and use Chambers and Miguel as substitute centre backs? They would build up first team experience, and just bring in Xavi would mean that a player who could play defensive midfielder primarily, and if Koscielny gets injured, he could fit into the centre back role. I think that's a very, very brilliant idea. Whether Bayern Munich, from what I'm hearing, Bayern Munich are looking to hold on to him, he would be brilliant. And that, again, is a good idea, because if you bring in a player that can play both positions comfortably, you're bringing in a player that, you solve two problems in one, especially when it's an experienced player like Martinez, but he costs a lot of money. But, if he can play dual positions, and then you've got Callum Chambers to fit in, and you still can fall back on Arteta, etc., you're spending your money very wisely there. So that would be a brilliant signing. Whether it would happen or not, that's another, because the Arsenal would have to really spend big to buy him, although they've got the money. Tammy Coney says, I'd like to see Wenger buy a centre-back same age as Chambers, so they can grow together and get some understanding, as Bold and Adams once had. Two centre-backs will cover for a few years to come, so that Wenger should look for a new pair to build a new partnership together. Great teams have great centre-back partnerships. If one of our centre-backs gets injured during the season, then one of the two youngsters can cover, but it's the way forward. Build a partnership from a young age, and you have a solid player. That's a good look. I do, however, think we need an experienced player to come in that position. It's very important that we get an experienced player. Daniel Sutherland says, why does anybody why does barely anyone know that Arsenal players don't seem to make it from the reserves and academy, apart from Gnabry, Miachi, and Zelalem, into the first team? It is an issue, but listen, you look at some of the other big teams, they haven't even got any players getting anywhere near their first team. At least at Arsenal, you've got a chance. Few more here. Guido Van Musala says, Robbie Wenger said that Arteta will be captain for the season. He also said that Chambers can be a great defensive midfielder. If I hear that news, I don't think we'll buy a defensive midfielder. And again, you know, it worries me. It does worry me that he may be thinking that we don't need a defensive midfielder. That would be a massive mistake. Would ruin all of the great work, to me, that's been done in this transfer window. So I'm really hoping that you know, that's not what we're going to do. And a guy here calling himself Arsene Wenger said Eduardo Vargas, who was mentioned and linked with a move to Arsenal yesterday, he said he's average on his very best day, so he's not happy with him. Bradley Tucker said Czech Tiote would be a cheap signing. So I think he's saying that, you know, why not go and get him. And last one here, James South says, why not Podolski and 40 million for Cavani? Mind you, seeing that goal that Giroud scored yesterday, I'll tell you, that's absolutely brilliant. Do we need Cavani? No, I know you can't go for one game. Cavani would be a brilliant signing. Keep those comments coming in. Don't forget to leave your comments below. Subscribe here to Arsenal Fan TV. Don't forget, check out our brilliant videos from yesterday. Loads and loads of videos. Sometimes I hear some people say, oh, this guy's on every week. Listen, every week when we film videos, we'll film like 20 to 30 videos. Pick your favorite person out of there, and you know, fans that you want to watch, and you watch them. Also, there's lots of fan activity from inside the ground. Watch the video of Arsenal fans doing the Poznan after Arsenal scored the third goal. That was absolutely brilliant at Wembley. The Wembley Poznan by Arsenal fans taking the mick out of Man City. It was brilliant yesterday. But check out all those videos on the channel. And thanks for watching Arsenal Fan TV. We'll be back tomorrow with another Transfer Daily.